everyone. I'm one of those people who don't remember their childhood well. Unlike my best friend, who not only remembers her childhood, but reflects back to every past event with the precise age and year. Like, in 2003, when I was 4 years old and my imaginary dog was 6 months old, I lost my first red color pencil. But despite of not remembering most of my childhood, one thing I clearly remember from 2009 when I was 10 years old is getting chickenpox. Now you might be wondering, why chickenpox? Don't I have anything more eventful to remember? Well, I can vaguely recall fracturing both of my wrists and one of my knees, but that didn't stick in my mind as much as the chickenpox did. Why? Because I thought I was going to die. And when that realization had hit me, I had cried. But then I stopped because I didn't die. But over the years, that incident made me think, why didn't I want to die at that point? Why did I want to live? And if living was so important for me, what kind of life did I want to live? A life of survival or a life of success? So I started putting an effort to make my life successful, but they weren't amounting to much. I used to ask myself, isn't effort the key to everything? Then one day, my question was answered as I was going through one of the diaries which I used to keep as a child. As I flipped through the pages, I saw a heading which read, the 12 Ps. I must have gotten it from someone or somewhere, but I had completely forgotten about it. But when I read through my own handwriting on that page, I realized that effort was important, but the right kind of effort was crucial. So what were these 12 Ps? Not these, but these. And the trick here was to practice the first 9 Ps in order to achieve the last 3 as rewards. So I began my journey pursuing the purpose of life. I asked myself, what is it that is worth so many years of struggle of my life? Achieving what would I consider a fair enough price paid back to me by life? And those days, I had recently read a really nice quote which said, if you don't wish to be forgotten, once you are dead and rotten, write something worth reading or do something worth writing. So with that new wanting to be remembered enthusiasm, I quickly jotted down astronomer, astronaut, neurosurgeon, chemist, and teacher. And let's be honest here. How many of you have not gone through the dilemma of choosing your career, like me? I'm sure most of us have felt one of the two emotions. Either, I can pursue all of these careers, or I can't pursue any of these careers. But whichever road you take, whichever train you take, it dumps you on the same station, and I was there. I didn't know what to do. So, I pondered. And this is an important P. To think, to reflect, to allow yourself to be undecided. I pondered on what potentials I was sent down with. So there I was, standing in the middle of my room, the Katniss Everdeen of my own arena, sent there by Capital, which turned out to be my parents, and only possessing a bag which I like to call the bag of potentials. Luckily, I didn't have to fight to grab this vital tool, but it came along with me the day I was earthbound. So when I opened my bag of potentials and I looked inside, other than a master's in stocking skills and a few other talents, I realized that I didn't want to pursue a career in physics, so astronomy and astronaut were striked off. Then the image of one of the miserable teachers of our school flashed in my mind, and to save myself from the same horror, I dropped teaching as well. So now I was 3 down, 2 more to go. And while I was deciding between chemist and neurosurgeon, organic chemistry happened, and I was left with neurosurgery. So that became my purpose of life. But that was my bag of potentials. You too have a skill set. Find your skill set. Your bag of potentials would be completely different, other than the masters in stocking, because Cambridge owns this skill. Well, what now? Now I planned. I planned my life in accordance to the use of my talents in order to realize my purpose. You might be wondering, we can't even plan an outing with friends without someone messing everything up either before the planning even begins or at the last minute. So how did this one girl plan out her whole huge life? Well, I planned broadly, and I was prepared to change plans if they didn't work out. Sadly, dropping out of school didn't quite fit with neurosurgery, so the first plan was to graduate with dignity. And to do so, I set priorities. I knew my family was a priority. My friends also were a priority because what if life if not getting tagged in dank memes? But at that time, the biggest priority seemed to be the IGCSE examinations, and when I looked at the calendar in December 2015, I realized that there were only 5 months left until May, the month of May we passed the exams, and I hadn't done a mono pass paper. It's not that I had been taking studying lightly. I had just wasted my whole summer break when everybody else had been working. Partly because we had gone to Pakistan for vacations, and partly because I was tired of finding X. If only finding X was half as exciting as finding Dory. But I realized that there was no time to waste now, so I pulled myself, killed nerve cells, burnt calories every day, and prayed. Because I knew that I was nothing without the Almighty and His help. So as the months passed by, the intensity of my panic became inversely proportional to time left until IGs, until I realized that if I didn't want to become a cardiac patient, I would better be patient. So I did that. I started observing patients. I barely passed that maths test with patience. I blankly stared at the history book with patience. I spoke wrong Arabic again and again with patience. But that didn't mean that I didn't do anything. It meant that I embraced my results, even the poor results, but I worked harder for the next time. And as much as the patience was helping me in the present, I was scared about the future. What if I didn't get the grades I wanted? What if everybody around this world was so smart and thresholds were really high? What if I didn't feel prepared enough when I entered the exam hall? And so, to avoid these negative thoughts, I started thinking positively. And one thing that really helped me practice positive thinking was a skit I remember doing with my friends in junior school. So in the story, there was a king, a minister, and half a dozen soldiers. I was one of the soldiers because everybody doubted my acting skills except me, myself. So this minister had a favorite phrase which was, "Everything happens for a reason." Every time the king used to be sad or stressed, he used to say the same words and it used to help calm the king. But one day, when the king went on a hunting trip with the minister and half a dozen soldiers, something came and hit his eye, started to bleed, and he went blind with one eye. This time, when the minister said the same words, he was like, "Yeah, more like to see less of that ugly face of yours." And he got him locked in the prison. I feel like the forest was somehow jinxed because the next time again, when the king went back on a hunting trip, they were cannibals. And they took everybody as a prisoner except the king because he had an injured eye. So the king was saved because of his injured eye, and the minister was saved because he said that everything happens for a reason. Now, did you all notice that the minister was persistent in his positive thinking? Well, I did, probably because I was so used to finding righteous effects in English past papers even when there weren't any effects. So I noticed it and started following it. I persistently worked each day, putting in all the effort in terms of energy, dedication, and time. I found the angle with which I would look at building X from a 40-foot tree in math. I saw the fate of the McDonald's burger as it turned into feces. I drew imaginary magnetic field lines in imaginary orbits and orbitals. I memorized Kennedy's options in Cuban Missile Crisis without an option, and I did all these things persistently. Then one fine day came the exam day, and nothing was fine anymore. I remember trying to force that feeling of being prepared, but it was taking too much effort, so I just let go and accepted the fact that I wasn't feeling like I would ace the exam. I accepted imperfection, but vied for perfection even on days when I thought I couldn't and wouldn't. But I did. Alhamdulillah, I took 8 subjects and I got 8 A stars. Thank you. But that's not all that the 9 Ps had to offer me, because the 10th, 11th, and 12th Ps are peace, power, and possibility, where possibility refers to the endless potential of life. But that was just my story. You have a different story, a different bag of potentials, different plan, different priorities. I know that we are all sitting here, that all of us sitting here are equally talented in our own realms. Unique, irreplaceable, empowered. I just shared my life as a template, the P's as guiding stars in the sky to follow and reach your destination. But your destination is different, and it's yours alone. The turning point of my life was something as silly as chickenpox. So you don't have to wait for something great to happen, because the greatest lessons in life have already happened. You just need to search for them. Because the greatest thing that could happen in your life has already happened. You. Thank you.